Anna.
I'm Ben.
AutoSave, welcome to our channel.
They're watching Monogatari Second Season, episode 23. I am very excited for this episode. How are you feeling?
I am also feeling pretty excited.
That's good to hear. In honor of this episode, I have opened up every single closet door in this house, and I hope that's what we will be seeing on screen.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a hotel room.
Let's talk about feelings.
Are we still at Aragi's house? 74 days. Oh my god, what a shot. I love the light glaring off the top of his head there.
The fact that his kind of next actions and response after leaving Nadeko is to flop onto a bed and then call Senjukahara kind of late at night.
Yeah.
To want to meet in person for a report. Is the reasoning because it needs to be more personable, that it needs to be in person, that we talk about something that is maybe as complex and intimate as maybe Nadeko and her future, the feelings Kaiki had last episode?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe I should be Kaiki for Halloween. Very serious. Where are we going? Mr. Donut!
Yes! What a good choice.
Wow, even the drink.
Let him treat you to a donut.
Did you see her expression?
Thinking before you talk.
Oh my god.
I remember that.
No.
Oh, bringing up the idea, would someone snoop on your things?
It's the setting. It's the trust in other people.
She's invested in this conversation now. But not enough at the end.
Interesting approach. It's important to know, though.
戦場が原とりあえず安心していい。あの娘を騙すのはたやすい。
たやすいってどういうこと？そんな簡単なことなら私はわざわざあなたに依頼なんてしないわ。
If it were that easy, I wouldn't ask you to do
無
it.
理だよ。荒らぎにも無理だ。だがそれ以外の人間なら俺でなくとも可能だとは思うぞ。戦国なでこ、あいつはバカだ。多分愚かさや稚拙さをずっと見逃され続けてきたのだろう。年齢以上に幼い。俺はこれからあの神社に通って戦国なでことコミュニケーションを取りつつ信用を勝ち取りながら
Winning her
そして来
trust.
月くらいかお前と荒らぎが交通事故にでもあって死んだと伝える。それで解決だ。
でも普通に考えたらそんなことを聞かされたら戦国なでこは私たちの生死を
If she trusted someone, would she?
確認しない。そのまま鵜呑みにする。
どうしてそこまで断言できるの？
話してみりゃわかる。
Similar to wanting to stay in unrequited love?
甘えすぎていて他人が自分を騙したり嘘をついたりすることを基本的に想定していない。人を信じられない代わりに人を疑う必要もない。そういう環境で育っている。しかし本人は案外ひょっとしたら何かの間違いだと思ってるんじゃないか。自分がそんなおまじない呪いの対象になるだなんて。
要は悪意に鈍いってことね。
失敗した時のリスクを考えるとやっぱりちょろい仕事だとは言い難いがな。万が一にもカンパされたら俺は生きてはいられないだ。悪意
We
に
know he does.
だからこそちょっとした悪意や普通ならば感化できるような害悪をきっとあいつはスルーできない。
スルーできずスルーできなかったから荒木くんや私を殺そうとしているというわけね。
戦国なでこがお前に肯定しているのは逆に言えばその程度の気持ちでしかない。案外あいつはいい神様になるんじゃないか。もちろん神様としての威厳を出すためにはもう少し落ち着きが必要だろうが。だから安心しろ。
Is this a plan to let her continue to exist as a god?
死なずに済むぞ。まあ問題は荒らぎにことが解決したというのをどういう風に伝えるかだよな。まさか正直に俺が戦国なでこを騙したとは言えないだろうし。何の真似だ。俺におごられるのは嫌なんじゃなかったのか。
強奪する分にはいいの。
変わった基準だな。
荒木くんのことは
Another
私
exception.
が何とかするわ。何とか説得して荒木くんには戦国なでこのことを諦めてもらうしかない。そこを諦めないからこそ荒木くんなんだけど私の惚れた男。
Making him like deny the person that he is, the one he fell in love with.
荒木に私と戦国なでこどっちの方が大事なのよと選択を迫るんだ。お前がそういう鬱陶しい女になればあいつはさすがに戦国なでこを諦めるだろうぜ。
失礼。
She took her bag.
お待たせ。怪奇。ありがとう。感謝するわ。
戦場の原人にはようやく気を緩めることができたのだろう。
That's why she reached out to eat,
それが
even.
自分のことだけだったのなら意地を張ってあの女は泣かなかったかもしれない。だが恋人の命まで助かったとなれば泣かずにはいられなかったのだろう。そういう女だ。
Children's literature. Cat's Cradle.
よし覚えた。
イエーイ。
What the?
お兄ちゃん。
Mononoke.
ピース。久しぶりだね、怪奇お兄ちゃん。
Influence
Brother
of friends.
Kaiki.
お兄ちゃんなどという呼び方をするな。
イエーイ。
She got too close to
ひ
Aragi.
ょっとしてこの辺りに来ているのか。
おっと、これは秘密なんだっけ？
秘密？
内緒という意味だよ。
しかし、そうは言ってもお前は影縫いの監視役だろう。この木、お前は一体何をやっているんだ。
僕はあなたに来たんだよ。僕はあなたに会いに来たんだよ。ガエンさんの使いでね。
ガエン。
What does she
ガ
know?
エンさんから忠告。
いや、待て。聞きたくない。言うな。
手を
I
引
don't
け
want to know. Oh, shit.
怪奇、お前が余計なことをしたら台無しになるという。
The way her voice
元より
sounds.
ひどくなる。だから手を引け。 ピースピース。
最後のはガエン先輩が言ったのか、それともお前の最近のキャラか。
Latest
最近の
persona.
僕のキャラだよ。
そうか。今度言ったらぶっ飛ばすからな。何か追加
I'm seem like Arag now.
あるか。
怪奇、まるで鬼のお兄ちゃんみたいな感じだね。
This is embarrassing.
手を引けなんて言われたら、俺はむしろやる気を出すに決まっているだろう。
なんなら金を払うと言っていたよ。300万円。
お断りだな。
We thought about it for 30 minutes.
桁が一桁は違うんじゃないのかと伝え返せ。
We had a soliloquy in our head there.
怪奇お兄ちゃん。怪奇。要するにさ、怪奇の仕事が失敗したケースのことをガエンさんは心配しているんだと思うんだよね。怪奇は戦国なでこを騙そうとしているんだろう。うん、多分それは成功するんだ。怪奇ほどの才覚があれば、いや、多分なくってもあの子を騙すことはたやすい。
Was she in the grate overhead?
時のリスクが高すぎるってことさ。今の戦国なでこは町くらいならあっさり滅ぼせる神通力を持っている。
Awesome.
ネタバレしちゃうとさ、そもそもあの町を頑張ってちゃんとしようとしているのがガエンさんってことになるのかな。本来戦国なでこという人間が神様に
It
なる
was
人間
not
はなく、
anticipated.
ガエンさんの当初の計画としては後期高齢者じゃない、なんだっけ、旧キスショットアセロラオリオンハートアンダーブレードを
Using her
Ah.
name and not calling her an old lady.
何かのミスというか、なぜか誰かの介入があったらしくて、その役目が戦国なでこに移行したというか。
Okie.
けれど、でもそれほど悪くない状況であることも確かなんだそうだ。
There could be success, but if failure.
もしも手を引かないのであれば、お前とはもう先輩でもなければ後輩
God,
で
the
も
voice acting's so good. You and I are through.
お兄ちゃん。
俺は考える。さっきも一度考えたが、さっきよりも深く考える。
Because of being
見
through.
た戦場ヶ原の泣き晴らした顔、それからガエン先輩との関係、利害
My
関係、
stake in her.
300万円という提示された額を思い出す。おののき。わかった。手を引こう。
Oh, all the cat's cradle going up in the
当然
air when he
手を引
says
くつ
that.
もりなどなく、俺はおののきから300万円を受け取ってから、そのままその足で
It's okay if it's stealing,
You
right?
needed the money.
無論、
Gaia
その代償
knows.
としてガイアン先輩を敵に回してしまったが、考えてみればもともと敵みたいな人だったので、むしろこれで縁が切れてさっぱりしたような気分だった。
怪奇さん、来てくれたんだ。
First
それ
believer.
はまあ、お前の
Yes!
第一号だからな。だからこの神社にお百度参りってやつをすることにしたのさ。
お百度参りか。なでこもしたことがあったような、なかったような。
まあそれでも無理やり一言で言うならば商売繁盛ってところかな。まあこれから100回、厳密に言えばあと98回俺はここに来るんだ。おいおい話していくさ。
そうだね。少しずつ教えてね、怪奇さんのこと。なでこ聞くから。神様だから。で、今日はとりあえずあやとりを教えてよ。約束通り。
Keeping promises.
いいだろう。昨日やったあやとりを出せ。
ああ、あれはずっと遊んでたら切れちゃう。
Wow.
やってやって、怪奇さん。
この娘はバカで、しかも
But also insane.
頭が悪く、頭がおかしい。尾行されているなぁと気づいたのは山を降り、それからしばらくしてからのことだった。
Because you made an
可
enemy?
能性があるのは当然ガエン先輩の下っ端という線だ。次に高いのは俺に恨みを持つ中学生かな。ただその場合、
You're
いきなり
disguised for
後から
that.
つくなりなんなり直接的な暴力に打ってくるものだ。結局タクシーで送ってもらった駅から電車に乗ることもなく、
Smart
ホテルに戻ることもなく、そのままトンボ帰りで俺は元の町へと戻った。こう警戒したのではない。それはもう完全に気にするのをやめた。
Yeah?
それよりも気にするべきことがあった。
What?
戦国なでこの壊れ方だ。
Okay.
失踪した娘の手がかりのようなものが見つかった。電話で で話せるようなことではなくというようなことをとても遠回しに
In a very roundabout manner.
しかしそれなりの断りづらさを織り込みつつ
Creating that opportunity.
Are we standing them up though?
Are we opening the closet?
I think so. Let's see the insanity.
Running jump!
You know, he's younger than he looks.
I just want him to yell what he's doing, like Shinobu would.
Announce it. We can lockpick. Shrine. Oh my god, they're not gonna tell us!
And do you still think it's nothing, Anna? Do you still think it's nothing? He's saying what the hell because there's nothing in there?
Say you're a character that has built up in your mind this kind of like, in your imagination, you've built it up that there's something within this closet, and you open it up and you find, and it reveals that there's nothing. You would also exclaim, "What the hell?" You know?
What the hell? Maybe the Fire Sisters will tell me what's in the closet.
Yeah, maybe there will be a clue in what the Fire Sisters have to say.
言うなあ、人間としては悔しい限りだぜ。なくて、コンピューターが将棋で人より強いとは思わない。それまたどうして？あいつ自分で駒動かさないじゃん。駒裏返さないじゃん。駒取らない。通常の駒を動かすのは結局人なわけでしょ？いや、そうだけど。
Is this where I say yet?
次回、恋物語第4話。Hitagiエンドその4。
You didn't give me enough Fire Sisters. Okay, that was Monogatari Second Season, Episode 23. What's in the closet?
What is in the closet? Obviously, I think that I'm kind of joining you a little bit. In the discussion of last episode, I was maybe a little more on the opposition, like, there doesn't have to be anything in the closet. It's just the idea of the fact that the closet exists and the parents didn't open it and she told them not to open it. It's just that it exists. We're using it metaphorically, you know, it represents something. It doesn't need to have something inside of it. And you were definitely like, I think there might actually be something in the closet. And I think that now I am joining you after this episode with thinking there has to be something. Obviously, what that is and the significance of it, it's going to be what that thing represents, probably. It doesn't have to be something huge in quantity. It has to just represent something. And so I'm excited to see what it is that's actually there in the closet.
Yeah.
What would be so important to her that she would want to hide from other people?
I am so happy. I feel like I've just heard something that I've known to be untrue my whole life become true, and you joining me on thinking that there is something in the closet. I definitely love the idea that there doesn't necessarily have to be, but in terms of Nadeko as a character, I would say that it would apply to her own person and her feelings and her own desires and her own personality that isn't the cute shape that she has consistently been fitting into. And
she's not manipulative. It's not like she would tell her parents, don't look in there, and then not put anything in there. We're painting her this whole episode, and I'm sure we're going to unpack it more, as childish and somewhat petty. So there would have to be something that she would be wanting to hide for the trust issues to kind of revolve around, that she wouldn't want other people to look at, and therefore telling her parents not to look in her closet.
Nadeko would take her bag.
Yeah, she's not trying to be manipulative where there's nothing in that closet, but I'm just showing my parents that, like, I can get them to do what I'm asking them to do. Like, no, it seemingly is as simple as, I have something to hide, I don't want my parents to look at it, I'm gonna make sure they don't look at it. But without the next steps, which would be, I don't know, like, I guess it's locked, so you are taking another step to make sure that they don't look at it.
I mean, yeah, but look at the lock, right?
Yeah,
like,
look how easily he just was able to open the closet.
My parents have a porch, and their front door is a normal lock that you need a key on, but their porch door is, you on one side you twist it locked, but on the other side it looks just like this. And as a kid, if I ever accidentally locked myself out, you just need like a penny or something to put in there and twist it to unlock it.
You need to get out like a lockpick set.
No, we're not talking about that this episode. But I feel confident that there is something that is going to be necessary to fix the situation that we're in, and two, I I don't know what it could be and how Kaiki could use it to fix the situation, because although we're talking about how stupid Nadeko is, right?
Mhm.
And how easy it would be to deceive her. Specifically, it'd be a piece of cake, like, to deceive
Yeah.
her. And Ononoki, in my headcanon, we get that point of view shot from, like, the air conditioning duct from inside Mr. Donut. Ononoki's in there, for sure. And that's why she knows the terminology piece of cake. Not because she's Ononoki and she's amazing and would know it anyway. But I don't think that the piece of cake route that we have described to Senjigahara of what we're going to do in terms of deceiving Nanako, I don't believe that that will be what happens one for one. I imagine whatever is within the closet will come to play in the conclusion of Kaiki and Nanako's conversation.
If you think about plot points, like what happened before we get to the closet is Kaiki learns something else about Nadeko from his second visit, which is that she's insane. She's not just an idiot.
She's insane.
She's insane. And that is a catalyst for us tricking the parents and trying to get into this closet. Yeah, I think that it has to do with whatever he means by insanity.
You know what insane, in my mind, how I interpret it, when somebody's insane there's obviously a variation of different levels of insanity, but in Nadeko's case, it isn't just being stupid. Like, being insane means that there's another layer of baggage there that drove her to be insane. Mm-hmm. And because of the type of shape of person that she has been and has been shaped into and then grown up with, and I imagine that's that insanity there. That's one of the core reasons of insanity, of the type of person that she is. And I want to know what it would be.
What you had said with the driven to insanity, it makes me think of when people are put into like solitary confinement, when they are kind of forced to be separated from kind of the normal activities and people, and they're isolated and they're alone with their thoughts. And when we think about the restrictions that were placed on her, obviously not really actually a direct comparison to like solitary confinement, but the restrictions put on her in the way that she was living within this kind of box of who to be, how to act, and how to be viewed, and then even viewing herself and keeping herself within there. Yeah, it is. Is it somewhat of a prison? Is it somewhat of a cell?
Well,
is that the driven to insanity? Is living
like,
within that?
It's so far much after that, right? I was trying to find the words to use to describe what I'm thinking, but it came up last episode, right? This girl has forgotten about the things that drove her into a corner. Like, it's in that analogy, it would be, you've forgotten what happened. You've forgotten the cell, right? You've forgotten that situation.
You forgot the steps that got you here.
Yeah, that's not what I mean technically. Okay. But like, to leave your analogy though, I think that the idea that this girl has forgotten what drove her into that corner is a key factor into describing that corner that she's in is stupid, ignorant, but also insane. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that leads me into something else that I would want to talk about, which is how similar kind of the ignorance is to like the unrequited love scenario. Like, why she wants to and is happy to exist in an unrequited love in comparison to the other childish behaviors we're getting from her in this episode. The why would you believe in someone? The trust, you know? Mm-hmm. She doesn't expect a lie, but is also unable to believe in people. I don't know. I just see them as very similar. I wrote ignorance is bliss in my notebook, and also like we see the line of like, could it be ignoring like petty malice? That it brings me.
Okay, I want to bring up the lines then, because it could like I think it's worth talking about.
Okay.
Since she's unable to believe in people, she has no reason to doubt them. That's the kind of environment that she's been brought up in. Unlikely as it may be, if she sees through it, I probably won't live to tell the tale. She can't sense malice. but that's exactly why, when faced with petty malice that one would normally be able to turn a blind eye to, she won't be able to ignore it.
I'm glad we brought up the lines, because I feel like I was really struggling without having like the exact words in front of me to be able to say exactly why I was connecting the kind of her with the unrequited love at the end of last episode to this idea of when faced with petty malice would normally be able to turn a blind eye. And it takes you back to last episode where we have that idea of like Kaiki realizing her priorities are so messed up. She remembers things that are little, insignificant, petty, but she does not remember things that are much more significant that someone would not want to forget.
Yeah, I think the line was like paraphrasing, remember things that don't matter, right? And I think that I'm really interested in how we're talking about the situation here, because in bringing it back up and saying, yeah, unable to believe in people, and that makes sense and that adds up, right, Kaiki? And then we go on to describe why this situation would work. I want to read it one more time, just to be clear. Unlikely as it may be as she sees through it, I probably won't live to tell the tale. She can't sense malice, but that is exactly why, when faced with petty malice that one would normally be able to turn a blind eye to, she won't be able to ignore it. So I think that what Kaiki says before that last line of the idea that like she won't be able to see through it, I feel like Kaiki might, I don't know if he realizes it yet, but I'm wondering if there's like there's room for unexpected situations to happen or answers to happen because of like what are we giving her? Like cat's cradle, right? It almost like makes me think of the string being twisted into so many different variations that you might get lost and things might be backwards for a few things. Like there are certain things that Nadeko can't ignore, and there are definitely things that she can ignore, but what would that lead to in trying to predict how somebody would react to things, right?
Especially if you're now labeling them as insane.
Exactly. If like it's almost like a minefield, you know?
Yeah, and we have that idea from Ononoki that the success rate is very high. He could definitely succeed. But if he failed, and now we have him, going back and visiting Nadeko, the realization of the insanity, deciding in that moment, I need to fucking open that closet because obviously I could succeed, but if I failed, he needs more information. He needs maybe more security, that the understanding he has of being able to deceive Nadeko, he has a foundation behind this, that he has a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, that he will be able to have this plan work out in the favor he has deemed the best option, which is save everyone. Honestly, Kaiki at the end of the day seemingly wants everyone to be saved, happy, in the best position possible. Aragi, and Senjugahara are alive and a couple and be able to be together, but Nadeko too. He seemingly, with the plan that he wants to enact, cares a lot about whatever is best, or he perceives is best for the character of Nadeko.
Well, I think that inherently, like, the idea of her, what's better for her is being a god will be challenged, because what is behind her door, her closet, will innately be human. It is something that Nadeko had and placed there before she ever became a god. Therefore, if we're going to use it narratively, it would be trying to approach and appeal to Nadeko's humanity instead of being a god. And I want to take that and pivot, and I'm so sorry if I'm misremembering things, but in Nadeko's arc in Monogatari second season here, towards the end, when we're leaving school, and we've broken the Nadeko character, we've started screaming, and we've left, and we're talking to the snake. There is this, like, extremely meta sense of self-awareness that Nadeko had then, and then it devolved or evolved into the role that she has now as a god. And I think that level of rawness and self-awareness is something that Kaiki could try to appeal to.
I like that you're bringing up that idea of whatever he learns in the closet, will that actually challenge what it is that he is thinking is best here for the character of Nadeko. Yes, because he obviously goes into this second meeting, because he met with Senjukahara, thinking that her being a god is the best for her.
She might surprisingly turn out to be quite a nice god.
Mhm.
That's the line I was referencing.
Right. And so I love the idea of whatever he's to learn now, is that actually going to challenge what he views her place in this world and this story really should be?
I
for
think
the
it has
betterment of
to,
her?
because the insanity comes after, chronologically, this conversation with Senjugahara, and therefore it's a new factor to have to put into the mix of what your plan's going to be.
Is that the whatever's in the closet, is it something that she would never truly be able to forget?
Do you think that if this goes differently then, and it doesn't go exactly how, you know, Kaiki laid it out in front of Senjugahara, and Kaiki wouldn't clear it up, do you think Senjugahara would potentially see that Kaiki deceived her?
Maybe.
Even though that wouldn't have been the case, like, in him learning new information?
I think that wouldn't necessarily matter, because I don't think he'd be too upset over if things end up succeeding in a way that is safe for this whole town. It's not going to get wiped off the map. Senjugahara and Araragi are alive, and Nadeko is able to live some life that is befitting of her. I think that he wouldn't care at the end of the day if he's the role of the villain to someone or seen as a deceiver to someone. I don't think that that would matter to him. But I think what is I would want to talk about in what you said is, would he fill Senjugahara in if he's changing his viewpoints, his plans about Nadeko, other than the meeting that they had at the beginning of this episode? Obviously, the place that he gets her at is a place where she feels so comfortable and kind of relieved that she's able to cry over the fact that her boyfriend's life is going to be spared. This like hope she has, this release she has, the ability probably to be able to eat and then cry. To kind of have those emotions happen for a character who's so kind of built strong, you know, not going to show you their emotions, not going to wear them on their sleeve.
I'm not going to let you buy anything for me. Like, come on, whatever.
Right.
And then when that's challenged immediately, be like, okay, well, pay me back for the plane ticket.
And
that might take a little bit of time. And then for it to devolve or evolve into the situation that Senjugahara is so raw and relieved about Araragi's situation that going to the bathroom with her bag and then coming back, you could see that relief and stress just vanish.
But imagine a character who has now done that, and then someone, imagine Kaiki coming to her again and being like, slight change of plans. Even if the plan is still good, someone coming to you and being like, our last conversation, the foundation I gave you that gave you the ability to cry is gonna change. That would probably cause me some anxiety.
Even if the assuredness of completion wouldn't necessarily change at all.
Yeah.
The details of it changing could,
Because it would make me not trust the individual. Even if what I'm actually seeing in reality is this person is gaining new information, therefore I should trust them more because they're choosing to change the course of action. I think it would play on the trust. Like, do I trust you more because you're able to not stay all prideful with an original plan you came up with, or do I trust you less because you weren't even confident to begin with when you told me the original plan? It does kind of bring up the trust issues, which I think is one of the themes in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like the taking your bag with you. I don't really do that.
Good attitude. She does manage to impress me. It almost feels like Senjugahara is Kaiki's like student or pupil, like in a verbal way, you know, and how an interaction goes with another person.
Right. I love that Senjugahara brought up what Araragi's view of Kaiki is, and maybe why Araragi has such ill feelings targeted toward Kaiki.
Explaining and going through that, like, Kaiki had set up this stage that Senjugahara had to go along with it.
She now has to live with the stage that he set. Yeah.
I love that Senjugahara took Kaiki to Mr. Donut. That made everything to me. It was like her like punching back to the idea that Kaiki was like, oh yeah, if I had the situation with the woman, of course I would have made a reservation somewhere. That isn't what's happening here. And Senjugahara's punch back there was like, all right, fuck you, I'm taking you to Mr. Donut.
But it also makes sense for other reasons in the writing, which is later on we realize that it wasn't Nadeko that was kind of meant to be the god of the Polar Snake Shrine.
Shinobu.
And that if anything, it was kind of planned for Shinobu because she was so good at the role when she was in it in the past, like 400 years ago.
I'm so glad that Ononoki was in this episode. Obviously, we were getting her in the outro, so
We were wondering
yeah.
where she was going to come into play here, yeah.
And her just being at Relaxed Coffee was extraordinary. It's part of my latest persona.
I like her kind of back and forth in relationship with Kaiki. Like, I can just imagine how many meetings they've had prior to
You mean
this.
her sibling?
Her brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to read the dialogue we got from Ononoki's account of what Guyan says. There were some irregularities, but that place is somewhat stable now. Kaiki, if you do anything stupid, not only will things go back to square one, they'll be even worse than before. It's interesting that we're using the idea of doing anything stupid, right? It's not saying specifically that if you failed in this instance, but the idea of Kaiki, knowing who Kaiki is, if he would do anything stupid, then it would be worse than before. And then I'm like, fucking talking about Guyan's idea and plan for Shinobu, and something happened differently. I'll find the line while we're discussing things, but fucking Ogi. Thinking back to Ogi and Nadeko's interaction has my stomach.
That's
in
an
a
irregularity
twist.
for sure. I think that one of the coolest parts of this conversation between Ononoki and Kaiki is that we're seeing these two people that kind of, to me, exist within the supernatural, within the world of the oddities, being influenced by the human characters that are within the series that we've been following, seeing them be influenced by the oddities. You're seeing that give and take there. You're seeing that both parties are influenced by the other, whether it's the peace signs and the way that Ononoki's speaking being influenced by Guyan, but even Kaiki's recognizing some Araragi, and then she's recognizing some Araragi in him as well. That sounds like Devil Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love that, like, kind of both groupings or parties are being influenced, because that's what naturally would happen if you're in this world coexisting, interacting with each other.
It's like Kaiki's being influenced by Senjugahara meeting with her because of Senjugahara being influenced by Araragi and then recounting that
all the connections.
that conversation that they had.
The string.
It seems she wanted to turn the former Kiss Shot, Acerola Ori, and Heart Under Blade into a god. Thank you for saying the whole name and pronouncing it better than I did. That vampire was once considered to be a god, so she was probably suited for the role. By mistake, or well, it seems someone intervened for some reason. Sengoku Nadeko ended up with the role. Guyan certainly didn't want things to turn out like they did. That said, it's not all that bad, apparently. Mm-hmm. It's so fascinating because it reminds me back to the Ogi conversation that Araragi had in the stairwell before we get the Hachikuji arc, right? Mm-hmm. And there being such very morally, like, broad analogies and really trying to, like, move the needle, not necessarily all the way to the left or right, but in terms of detail, it's so specific. You're going in one direction or another, and it brings me back to that in a way, because if this was Ogi, if this was whoever, and Guyan had another idea for it, it's like on a grand scale, everything's fine. It would be fine either way, but in which direction does it minutely shift? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really fascinating.
It gives, like, balancing scales a little bit to me.
But like with like one grain of rice or like 5 grains of rice instead of an actual like pound difference.
I think that's honestly why it's so scary, is because we don't have these characters fighting this uphill losing battle. We have the idea of, it could possibly succeed, and this could possibly be not that bad of an outcome, but if it failed, my gosh.
Okay, if the idea that if at the end of the day, obviously the plan is for Nadeko to continue being a god, and we have seen into the future of that a bit. Mm-hmm. If there's a world that Nadeko isn't a god, what then happens to the world?
Oh my gosh, because yes, it seems like a god needed to fill the role there.
Yeah.
We needed someone to be in that seat. But you just brought up something I hadn't even thought about, which was, we've already seen in the future. We've seen Araragi, Senjugahara, Shinobu, Kunbaru, Hanakawa walk up to the shrine to meet Nadeko.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen if Kaiki convinces her that Senjigahara and Aragi died in a car accident.
No, it does. It does happen because then she stays a god, right? The only under that goal, she is still a god.
Well, yes, but you wouldn't. I guess that would be Senjigahara not convincing Aragi to leave it alone.
Yeah. Within that, route of things. But I was suggesting, because earlier in the discussion, I had brought up what was in the closet, and if trying to appeal to her humanity could, breed a different result, but that would inherently cause an issue because then the seat of the god wouldn't be filled. And it also would cause an issue because we see them walking up to the shrine with Nadeko there.
If we take her out of that seat, we would then have to put someone else in it. And if it was Shinobu that would then have to be switched out, what would that mean for Aragi? And is that not actually even the best scenario for the characters that we know? It's getting pretty complex here with Gaian, who knows everything. And I wish that she would share a little more of what she knows with us, because obviously whatever she's even beginning to unpack for us through Ononoki has us really kind of spiraling with some questions of the what ifs of the future.
Well, we're cut off from Gaian anyway at this point going forward.
Yep, and we have 98 more visits to the shrine that we are planning on making, because if you steal, it's okay.
Well, we have the money now to be able to pay for the shrine visits,
If
thankfully.
you steal a donut off a plate, it doesn't count. If you say to someone, I'm going to do what you say and take 3 million yen, then it's okay. It's an exception. And so we're going to have 98 more times that we visit. And I really love what he's created here with this kind of foundation he's building of this relationship. Obviously, that comes before the going into the closet, but he's keeping his promises. This foundation he's building for this relationship of visitor to the shrine and God, he's keeping his promises that he's going to continue to teach Cat's Cradle, and he's setting a promise in motion that he will be visiting a certain number of times. And so that is to create this relationship of to be trusted and to trust between the two of them, especially when they're unable
to believe in people.
He's saying that during this time, he will be talking through with her what it is that he wants fulfilled. And so he's kind of, if you think about it from Nadeko's perspective, someone would come with a grand wish, something that you're trusting a god with, something that is really just important to the core of who you are, and that's a lot to trust someone with. And so it's very special that Kaiki would view something that's so important to him that he's going to come to this shrine, to this god 98 more times, and during that time he's going to unpack and talk with her about this thing that he wants fulfilled. And that really just kind of highlights to her what is being given to her here, this trust that is being given over to her from him, even if that's not necessarily the case and it's part of the deception. It's very effective, though.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more things before I'm out of notebook points that I have. This was the air conditioning grate that in my headcanon Ononoki is sitting in and watching this interaction happen, even though that's not the case. Number 2, Senjigahara looks absolutely magnificent in her winter clothing and her school uniform. I personally, winter is my favorite season, and it's strictly because I really like the cold and I like dressing up in, warmer clothing or sweatshirts or hoodies or puffy jackets like this. So personally, it just makes sense that my favorite Senjigahara outfit and my love for Senjigahara just kind of meets at a perfect, moment here in Senjigahara's apparel.
We didn't get to see any personal attire of hers because obviously we didn't want Kaiki to view it, but we're still kind of accessorizing in a way that gives personality, which we can appreciate.
Yeah, and then my second to last thing is we've already kind of brought up the sequence where Senjigahara comes back and you can see her tears in her eyes, but it immediately made me extremely emotional in remembering the line of have suspicions and not faith. That still, it's probably going to be one of my favorite lines within all of Monogatari, and I don't even know what greatness is yet to come. My last thing is Kaiki has a really fucking cool hotel room, man.
He really does, even though he felt like he was being followed and he didn't want to necessarily go back to his hotel room. This is a
Is that
very
an
cool...
aquarium above his bed?
Okay, who's paying for this hotel room? Like, the expenses that we're talking about?
We're fine. We're kike. We're loaded. Do you have anything
Very
else?
cool. Yeah, I think my last thing is that this episode, obviously with what we've seen of Nadeko in the second season, has really kind of broken a lot of what I had previously thought of her and viewed her as from Bakemonogatari. And one thing that kind of felt like the final kind of pickaxe, you know, in what I felt about her, how I viewed her, even though I like knew this to be true, once something is actually confronted, you know, right in your face, the lines are literally said, then it's so like undeniable. And that is, didn't trust anyone for the last 13 years. If she had trusted him, this would not have happened.
And
I had
Araragi.
viewed her so heavily and wanted to view her so heavily as trusting Araragi that she would, as Senjukahara even brings up, and Kaiki and Senjukahara are talking about it. Well, what about Araragi? Like, wouldn't she have trusted him? If you're saying she didn't trust anyone, but what about him? And I kind of felt like I was in that position too as a viewer, even though I've seen things that I can't deny. I still wanted to kind of live in this place. And then once the line was literally said that if she had truly trusted him, this would not have happened, it just kind of chips away at any ounce of what had been built up of the view of how she saw Araragi. And I feel like we start to chip away at that when we really start getting her and the unrequited love and the fact that she wouldn't actually want to be in a relationship with him. That definitely starts chipping away at what was our original
For me,
perception.
that was my, like, holy shit, like,
yeah. And I feel like I already knew it. I
Mhm.
just feel like this line hit in a way that's like, obviously there was nothing for it to break down and crumble because that had already crumbled, but I feel like it still hit because it was kind of like the last thing to be said that is like, wow, that's still shocking to hear.
Yeah. I like the Kaiki's response, or sorry, Senjukahara's response was sticking up for her Arwi, and I think that, like, it's one of the reasons why I love Kaiki so much as a character. I think that when I at least try to approach learning about a person or understanding a person, understand why a person does what they do or are the way that they are, I think it's inherently crucial to try to understand where they've come from and see their life as empathetically as you can in a certain regard, just so you can try to understand from their point of view what got them there. If you're able to understand what got them there from their point of view, it's not sticking up for her, it's trying to understand and see the entire picture for what it is. And I think that is an awesome approach.
And it makes sense that there would be a character that would perceive that initially as sticking up for her, especially if that same character is being told in this same episode at the beginning, I bet you also spoke to her without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of idea, I think that brings up, even in the last couple episodes, Senjukahara trying to kind of assert herself as not a child, don't treat me like a child, and Kaiki is still continuously giving her little pieces of advice, I guess, in terms of like maturity, or in terms of how to act. And I feel like that kind of goes in tandem of her perception of him trying to understand Nadeko being seen as sticking up for her, justifying it, maybe even making excuses for it, when really that's not what it is.
He doubles down, says it's not an excuse, you know? Even though Aragi's chiefly to blame for that, there's no room for excuses.
Mm-hmm.
God, I wonder what my experience will feel like going back after we finish Monogatari inevitably and watching this from the start. I feel like it would have to be one of the most surreal experiences for a series because of how much development not only Nadeko has gone through, but every single character that we've seen.
Yeah, when you say that, my mind immediately goes obviously to rewatching Nadeko with an understanding of her from an emotional perspective, but also from an emotional perspective, rewatching any Hachikuji, you know, I feel like would also come with like a slight tear kind of dripping down your cheek as you're watching Hachikuji, but like in a nostalgic, bittersweet way where you're like, wow, I love Hachikuji.
All right, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We hope to see you next time.